kind of hot take / bold prediction on what's coming up for the draft.
Yep. And this prediction comes at the 25 spot. The Tennessee Titans are going to be picking there. And look, I think if John Robinson likes a quarterback,
No way.
I think it's going to happen. And it doesn't really align with our mock draft. These are just things that I could see happening, but I'll go ahead and make the prediction. If a guy like Kenny Pickett is available at 25 somehow, obviously you can go check out our last mock draft. Kenny Pickett fell out of the first round completely.
Yeah.
If I'm the Titans in that spot, I look at Ryan Tannehill. He's 34. How has he done in the playoffs? He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been good. I don't think he's going to win you a Super Bowl. I'll go out on the record and I'll say that. I don't think he's going to be the guy. So if John Robinson and Mike Vrabel really like a guy from this class that they feel could take them to the next level, because think about it, how much longer can Derrick Henry take this workload? You got to have a guy that could be, a little bit more dynamic, a la Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett. I don't know if Malik Willis will make it all the way to 25. But even now, like AJ Brown, he's asking for money. Could we see a trade with him? Maybe. I don't know. But look, I'll say this. If you're at 25, Kenny Pickett falls to you. I don't think a trade up would happen with the Titans. I think they're going to stand pat at 25. I really don't know how you can pass on legit upside. We saw a similar situation years ago with Kansas City. They were good, but they were always limited with Alex Smith. And I see the same thing here with Tannehill. And obviously the Chiefs finally traded up. They selected Patrick Mahomes. They became a superpower. So I think Robinson should be bold if given that moment.
We really should have rehearsed this. My first take on my board was that the Titans are going to go quarterback.
Oh my God.
I had Sam Howell. And here's why. Here's why. So my hot take, I guess we can just combine ours. My hot take was that Sam Howell's going to go to the Titans probably in the second round, or maybe even in the first. It could be a reach. You never know. So one of those two picks, either their day 2-1 or in the first round. And he shows some promise his first year and gets some playing time in his rookie year. Like Tannehill does really bad 1 week and he shows some promise. That was my hot take. Literally, we didn't rehearse this at all.
We didn't.
And the reason why I went with Sam Howell and not Kenny Pickett is because, look, as much of a Pickett fan I am in terms of just his, I guess, fundamentals, I guess upside-wise, I don't know how much he has over Ryan Tannehill. I think they're just as mobile. Pickett might be a little bit more. I think Tannehill's got a better deep ball. He's better off play action. So I don't know if the Titans would really settle for Pickett. What I would say, though, Sam Howell, he was the top 3 quarterback coming into the 2021 college football season. And again, I've said this before on the pod, he lost both his running backs. He lost his top 2 receivers. His O-line was terrible. But prior to that, his sophomore year, he was the best deep ball thrower in this class. So I think if anything, Sam Howell's got a lot of upside. I honestly, truth be told, he was my QB1 coming into 2021. And things went a little bit south, but I think he's got, a moxie to him. I think he's a really talented quarterback, and I think he's kind of flowing under the radar. And I'm gonna one up you and say that Sam Howell goes to the Titans, not Pickett. I think you're right. Like, I think even in our board, I think Pickett's gonna go around that 16 to 23 area. And I think Sam Howell goes to the Titans and does what you're thinking.
Look, it's fair. I won't even pinpoint a specific quarterback right now, but look, if John Robinson sees legit upside in Howell, Ridder, Corral, Pickett, I feel like it's too tantalizing not to take a guy like that. He can learn under Tannehill potentially. And like you said, if Tannehill has a bad week, obviously the fans are going to be, a little bit
right, because they were on his head for the playoff loss. I mean, I defended him, but most of Titans Nation didn't really see it the way I did.
I didn't defend it either. I just don't think Ryan Tannehill can win you a bowl. It is what it is.
But yeah, I might be on that track. Like, you're right. He is 34. I don't really know if Tannehill is one of those guys that just can uplift you to a Super Bowl. I don't know. I still think he's a talented guy. But you're right, Srikar. He's also making a lot of money. They signed him to a really big deal after the 2019 playoff run when they were at the AFC Championship game. So I do agree with you in that sense. I think maybe his time is ticking. But my only thing is they need some more help on interior O-line. Definitely also in the back end, maybe to help out Christian Fulton and Kevin Byard. But if Sam Howell is maybe available in day 2, maybe around like pick 40, I would love for them to trade up and get him. He would stay kind of close to home, right? Still kind of in that South. And I think he's ultra talented. So I mean,
Yeah.
hey, that's a that was a really ironic take between both of us. I guess I'll go on to my next one, and that is 5 edge rushers. Yes, 5 edge rushers will be drafted before Kyle Hamilton. That is, I
Before
think
Kyle
it's
Hamilton.
a
So I'm
yeah.
assuming you're saying so Hutchinson, Walker, Thibodeaux. We're going Jermaine Johnson.
And there's one
Jermaine
more.
Johnson, and then I will say, I'm trying to think here. Who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting?
You're forgetting one.
Is it like obvious?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the obvious fifth.
Hutchinson, Jermaine Johnson, and God, who is it?
George Karlaftis.
Karlaftis. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I think those 5 will go before Kyle. It's a bold one because
Where
I
do you
mean
think
that would
Kyle
mean
Hamilton
right,
goes?
huh?
Where do you think Kyle Hamilton goes then?
Yeah, so then I thought, right, I think Hamilton is hovering around that maybe 13 to 15 area. And I just think that maybe, so look, I think Walker and Hutchinson will probably be the first two, right? And I think Thibodeau will go around the top 5, maybe to the Jets, to the Giants, wherever. I think Jermaine Johnson probably hits Seattle maybe if they do go there instead of Charles Cross, like we've had in our board. And then Karlaftis maybe goes at 11 or 12, which a little bit bold on my end, right? Maybe I mean I don't see the Vikings doing it. I don't see the Commanders doing it, but hey, maybe someone trades up,
Mhm.
right? Or maybe the Jets, if they land right like Sauce Gardner or something at pick 4, then they go with Karlaftis as an edge and pick 10. So you never know how that might shape out. Maybe the Falcons trade back. So that was my bold little take. Maybe 5 edge rushers. Because if I say 4, then that's like kind of obvious, right? My intuition was like, okay, the 5th one goes, or maybe Kyle Hamilton slides so far back that maybe another team at like 16 or 15 scoops an edge rusher before Kyle goes. So that was a bold take of mine.
I think it's fair. I'm still gonna say 4, just because I don't know. I don't think Karlaftis is obviously you said barring trades, but
Right.
um, I don't think Karlaftis is gonna go before Hamilton. But we could see a Hamilton fall. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's gonna be too drastic. I could see the Commanders just scooping him up at 11. Maybe the Eagles, the Vikings, Texans. I don't see him falling that
Yeah, I
far.
don't see the Vikings or Commanders simply because the Commanders want Cam Curl to develop more. That's why they let go of Landon Collins. They didn't want to pay him. And then for the Vikings, I mean, they've got Harrison Smith. I know he's getting old. Maybe you can put Kyle Hamilton instead of Xavier Woods, but I just don't think he's a true free safety. And I mean, I see all
Oh,
these TikTokers saying Kyle Hamilton is the best prospect in the draft. Can you prove it to me? Like, I mean, what analysis are you? You're saying he's like the best sideline to sideline safety. Like, please elaborate. Give me some more technical, I guess aspects of his game. I From his tape, he's a really good. I love his tape. I really do. But I just don't know if you're really getting for value wise. And I do agree with Jack. He's not a Derwin James type prospect. He's not a Jamal Adams type prospect. Uh, Great guy. He's a great player. Just don't necessarily think he's going to have that type of immediate impact.
Yeah, he's just very versatile. I mean, that's the
Oh, yeah.
selling point with Kyle Hamilton. But as far as I'm concerned, Hutchinson is the best prospect in this draft, in my opinion. But um,
I don't know. I think
I
he's the most ready. I think he's the most ready. Upside wise, no. I think Kayvon is a mix of both Walker and Hutchinson. I mean, maybe if you want to talk about it, right? Did you see the whole odds change for
yep.
Walker?
I
I
was
mean,
actually Vegas always knows something that we just don't. So if Jacksonville really wants to bank on that athletic upside and go, projection over production, then Trevon Walker is going to be the pick. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's something that I could see happening. If I'm the Jaguars, I'm going with production. I'd go with the safer
I mean,
pick.
yeah, like I mean, the last like player you really took on upside with the
Chase Young.
first overall pick.
Oh, at first.
I don't know. Like I'm thinking like all these guys that have gone first overall, it's either been a quarterback who obviously, you want quarterbacks are franchise altering, or it's a can't miss, defensive or offensive player, right? So there've only been two defensive players drafted first overall since in the last 15 years. And one of them was Myles Garrett, who was literally a cannot miss. Like he could not fail. He was a perfect place anywhere, right?
Yeah.
I think this might be the second one because I think it's no question that they're going edge rusher now. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of who. And obviously the whole narrative with Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh, the whole, I guess
Aldon
animosity.
Smith.
But
Yeah, I don't.
why would that prevent you from taking the better player? That should no
Exactly.
way, shape, or form do that. Um, and I agree, his Aiden Hutchinson's arm length is, a concern, but he's the most pro ready, and he's had the most production out of any of these guys. So
Yeah, I agree. It just wouldn't make sense to me, especially when Bulky should know his job isn't as secure as he thinks it is. So if
right,
I'm in this situation, I'm not gonna bank on a guy that could be good after I'm gone. I'd rather get the guy that's safer,
right.
that can produce right away. And I really feel like Hutchinson would be that guy over Walker. So
I mean, the argument for Walker I can see is that at least he'll be paired alongside a guy like Josh Allen, right? So at least it's similar what he had in Georgia, with Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, right? At least the Jags have playmakers like that, right? But now your linebacking core is really iffy in my opinion, right? Like, cause you lost Miles Jack.
mhm.
Where is Chason going to line up? He really hasn't proven himself to be worthy of that. I think it was like the 19th overall selection, something
And
like
keep in
that.
mind, Chason was another raw like projection guy that they
Right,
took
and out of
before.
LSU, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it didn't work out, I'd say, to this point.
Yeah, I would say you want someone, if you're gonna go with the number one overall pick, you want someone that's going to make an impact. You cannot, number one overall pick busts are really bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that you just should not whiff on.
Mhm.
But you want to move on to maybe your next hot take.
Yeah, my neck, it's not as hot as the previous one, but you look at that number 9 pick, you look at Seattle. In previous mock drafts that I've done and that Anish has done, we've all agreed that Charles Cross would be the offensive tackle that they take there. But recently, I've been seeing a lot of buzz. I've been seeing some articles, I've been seeing some pieces about Trevor Penning being the guy at number 9 instead of Charles Cross. And if that happens, we could see a cross slide to maybe, 14 to the Ravens, maybe even beyond that to the Saints potentially at 16. But Trevor Penning, if you really think about it, Seattle tends to sometimes, go off the wall with their picks. I think this would be one of those picks. But if you want, here's the risk and the reward with Trevor Penning. The downside is he has that mean streak he can finish, but also it could result in, bully ball resulting in too many penalties, which is the downside. The upside is he provides an identity for your offensive line. And if you're Seattle, that's exactly what you need right now. This offensive line unit is terrible. So if you want that leader on the offensive line, they could look at Penning and say, we need a guy like that who can show that grit, that aggression that we need to move into the future with. So I'm going to say Trevor Penning at 9 over Charles Cross if they go the offensive tackle direction. So that's the take. It's not as hot, but it's something that, might catch some people off guard.
I'm gonna try and refrain from being like Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank here, but that I completely disagree with. Like that, I mean, I say what you want about the buzz, sure. I mean, if there's buzz there, I would hate that if I'm Seattle. First of all, they're
I'm not
not
saying I would like it. I'm just saying
right.
that's what they might look at.
Right, and I would absolutely hate it because they're not a power run team. I mean, Rashad Penny is not. Sure, he had his moments, but he's not a true power running, running back. And I think with the skill set and the personnel that they have, right, to completely switch to wing formations and do, what Trevor Penning was in Northern Iowa, I would not like. I think Charles Cross is more versatile. I think he's got better hand technique, and sure, he's not as strong at finishing in the second level, but I think he's a way better tackle than Trevor Penning in terms of just being a rock solid pass protector. He is way better at pass protecting. That I don't think that's even close. Run blocking, sure, Penning's got the edge, but if you want a guy that you just line up at left tackle and just say, hey,
Well, think about it this way. Is this still going to be a pass first team?
well, that's so. I mean, I think you're right. That's where maybe there's some, unidentification, which is why I'm not, mad at the buzz, but
Mhm.
I just would not do it because you still have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and it's not like Drew Lock doesn't have an arm, right? Sure, he's inaccurate at times, and yeah, his decision making is very questionable, but he's got the arm to throw it downfield to these guys. So it's like if Seattle wants to go forward with Drew Lock as their guy, right? You maybe and you have this. The only way I would see this is if they do what the Vikings would run, right? They would have two wide receivers on the outside and Metcalf and Lockett. They would have two tight ends with Fant and did they re-extend Gerald Everett? I can't
No,
remember.
Everett
Oh
left.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm forgetting their second tight end.
Mhm.
But yeah, they would probably have to have two tight ends on opposite sides. Fant's an okay blocker, and then they would probably have to put Penning on right or left tackle. But I don't know. I don't know if they would do that. I'm not a big fan of that for Seattle right now. If you want to be a run first team, then Penning's your guy. But I would much rather go with Charles Cross, who's a pass protector, and that's what Seattle's been struggling with.
Yeah, and their
But
tight end too is Will Disley, and then they
yeah.
have Colby Parkinson behind him.
But yeah, every time Srikar comes off with a bizarre take and we laugh at it, it sometimes happens. So I'm not gonna.
Most of the time it happens. Like people laugh
Henry
at my
Ruggs,
take, and then it just.
I'll always go back to the Henry Ruggs first receiver off the ball. I remember
Henry
Jack and I
Ruggs,
scoffed.
Alex Leatherwood, people were mad at it, and it ended up happening. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
so
the Raiders.
we'll
but,
give you credit there. I just would not like it from a football standpoint. So
and look, I wouldn't either. I think Charles Cross is the more technically sound prospect than Trevor
Right.
Penning. But with all this buzz, I feel like there's something there with Seattle.
right. Again, if I was there, you know, at least you know what I would do. Our final take here, and this one, I would not be happy with it, but I think it could happen. Treylon Burks does not go in the first round. That's a take of mine. And I just think first of all, I think a lot of people, at least from what we've heard, NFL scouts truly rank Jameson Williams, despite the ACL, way higher than Treylon Burks. And I agree with that. I do agree. His upside and what he was able to do at Alabama, he was the best wide receiver in this class. And again, I think I'm seeing a lot of George Pickens hype. I know Srikar's talked about him a little bit too. I've seen a lot of Jahan Dotson. I'm forgetting Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. So I think one of these guys, right, if not all three, go before Treylon Burks. I think it's a hot take. I think it is pretty, unlikely. But I mean, my fits for Treylon Burks I think Green Bay is a really good fit. I've said this over and over. But a lot of teams are looking for maybe a tall guy that you can line up at X and throw it down the field. And I think that's better for the Chiefs. I don't think Treylon Burks is really what you need up there in Kansas City. He can't run or he can't fit a spread offense as well as you would think. So that's a hot take. Maybe you want to give your thoughts on that.
I actually agree in the sense that if the Chiefs have to decide between George Pickens and Treylon Burks, I think they go George Pickens, 100%. I think he fits their offense better. Jameson Williams was far and away better than Treylon Burks, in my opinion. I think even at this stage, you can still make an argument that he's wide receiver one. I wouldn't make it personally, but I know there's a lot of people that still think he's going to come back and look as electrifying as he did at Alabama. So if you have Jameson Williams one, go right on ahead. But with Treylon Burks, I think it's interesting. A lot of people have compared him to Debo and that teams will want to use him in that Debo role. I won't go that far yet because I feel like Debo's just one of a kind in that sense. I don't know if that stuff can just be replicated what he did.
I mean, I think it's really just how Kyle Shanahan used him, right? Because before that, no one really used a receiver the same way. No one had receivers go straight up the middle like a running. I'd never seen that. And
he was literally our lead back in the play.
Right. I mean, and that's why, I said in I think a TikTok I made, Kyle Shanahan's best thing he did for the Niners was his use of Debo. I mean, it got him to the Super Bowl, right?
You could say that, or you could say changing the culture. Either one works. But
no, I said that, and a lot of Niner fans were like, "Look at this guy giving the most backhanded compliment to Kyle Shanahan."
It is,
dude. But it's facts. Okay, Debo was the main reason they were up 20-10 in that Super Bowl. He had what 93 scrimmage yards in the first half. He was going berserk. And speaking of Debo Samuel, obviously OG fans know how much I love him. OG fans know I've talked with him before. OG fans know Srikar